Thanks for joining us tonight on another episode of The Racing Report. My name is Rob Peeters, and I'm your host for another fabulous little half hour where we're going to talk all things motorsports because the Daytona 500 is finally here. It's this weekend, and that's not the only race that's going on this weekend. Of course, you have the Truck Series, the ARC race, the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series race, but you also have a doubleheader in Jeddah for Formula E, and you have the Bathurst 12 Hours, which is down in Australia. So lots of cool racing coming up this weekend, and we're going to get you all prepared for it coming up here in the next 30 minutes. But before we do that, please be sure, if you like the show, to remember to follow me on social media. You can do so by looking up at rpeeters33, that's RPEETERS33, and then make sure at all times you've got that handy-dandy little WTHR Plus app installed on your smart TV, so you get brand new episodes of the Racing Report each and every week. You won't want to miss a single episode because we cover all of the latest news in the world of motorsports. We try not to miss much, and if we do, again, that's why I encourage you to follow me on social media and let me know what you want to see out of this show. If you like it, if you dislike it, however you feel, because I really appreciate all of the support going into this show. But let's go ahead and jump right on into the news and notes of the week. We'll begin, as we always do, in the world of Formula One. And first and foremost, Lewis Hamilton, after splitting with engineer Riccardo Adami, now has Carlos Santi, formerly Kimi Raikkonen's engineer, on his pit box during the Bahrain test. However, Ferrari says that they are still undecided on who exactly will be Hamilton's engineer for the 2026 season, though as of right now, Carlos Santi is the kind of indefinite race engineer for Lewis Hamilton, and we'll see if that changes anytime soon as the Formula One season creeps closer and closer to beginning in Australia, coming up here in less than a month's time down there in Melbourne. So, big news there for Lewis Hamilton. Now let's talk about the biggest controversy in the world of the Formula One and the FIA. Now, the FIA is reportedly trying to resolve the compression ratio controversy prior to the Australian Grand Prix. So if you're not familiar with what's going on with this compression ratio controversy, I should say. So the new rules, as we all are aware, Formula One's got completely new rules and regulations going into effect. We've got brand new cars. We've got brand new types of engines. DRS is gone. A lot of things are different, and in that, they have the FIA adjusted the rules for the fuel/air mixture compression ratio. Now, that's in the cylinder, in the cylinder of the engine. So previously, the ratio was about 18-1. That's now been lowered to 16-1. Now, Mercedes appears to have found a way to increase that ratio through cylinder head design when the power unit is running hot. So when that car is running hot, it's going to be able to get a lot more fuel and air into that engine than it normally would. Now, Toto Wolff says, hey, this is entirely within the rules. We are entirely within our rules to do this. But other teams are kind of raising red flags and saying, well, no, hold on. That there's no way that can be legal. There's no possible way that's legal. Well, it is, but the FIA is still trying to solve the controversy. Now, Toto Wolff has gone on record talking to reporters and journalists during the Bahrain test that, well, maybe not necessarily on the record, but he has implied that if there's a change prior to Melbourne, legal action could be on the table. Now, we'll see if anything comes of that or what, if any, rule changes come about that. But what's important to note, too, is that Toto Wolff seems to have kind of deflected a lot of that controversy by saying, Red Bull's Ford engine is actually the benchmark that we're looking for and trying to beat in 2026, and claiming that other teams are also looking at the Red Bull Ford engine as the benchmark for 2026. Now, again, we've only had a shakedown in Barcelona. We've only had a test in Bahrain, so we don't really know much, and we probably won't know exactly how much of an advantage either Red Bull or Mercedes might have until we get to Melbourne, but it'll be interesting to see and watch what comes of this compression ratio controversy. Now, also in the world of Formula One, if you watched the Super Bowl this weekend, I know I did. I'm a big Seattle Seahawks fan, so I'm celebrating today. But during that Super Bowl, we saw the reveal of Cadillac F1's livery for their debut season coming up in just a few weeks' time. And we've also learned just how much money they spent on that spot. Apparently, that cost them $20 million. $20 million to show off their livery to all the Formula One fans during the Super Bowl. Kind of cool, but also quite a lot of money when you think about it. But hey, maybe not as much money that's being lost as Kimi Antonelli's dealing with right now, because we learned that Kimi Antonelli was thankfully unhurt in a single vehicle traffic accident prior to his departure for Bahrain, and that the car that he crashed, unfortunately, was an exclusive Mercedes-AMG GT 63 Pro that was worth £180,000 and was one of just 200 in existence. Now, Antonelli was gifted this car by his team just a couple of weeks ago, and now it's junk. But thankfully he's okay. Thankfully Antonelli is okay. Unfortunately, you can't say the same about that very exclusive and rare car that was gifted to Antonelli not long ago. But definitely, like I said, glad to see he's doing all right. And finally, in the world of Formula One news, here's more entertainment. Director Jerry Bruckheimer says that a sequel to the Formula One movie is currently in development. Bonus points if they call it F2. We'll end on that little funny joke, but we'll go ahead now and move on into American open-wheel racing in the world of IndyCar, because we got some big news this week, and now Racer is reporting that Chevrolet and Honda are expected to continue as engine suppliers in IndyCar beyond the 2026 season. And additionally, Racer also reports that the series issued one charter to both Honda and Chevrolet to use if they would like to field a one-car factory effort. Now, that was something that was reported late last year by Racer, and now it appears as that is exactly what is going on. So now Honda and Chevrolet, as a thank you, basically, for staying in the series and continuing to supply engines, they will have a charter to run a factory effort if they so choose in the future. And it'll be interesting to see exactly what comes of that if Honda or Chevrolet do end up running a factory effort, as we still are awaiting what is going to happen with Prema Racing. Unfortunately, I don't have any updates to you other than Callum Ilott has been making some very strange tweets as he sits on the sidelines and is not in Sebring for this week's test. Now, speaking of that Sebring test, what's important to note there, we've got that test has concluded. Alex Palou was quickest on the first day, and then Marcus Armstrong topped the charts on the second day, followed by Kyle Kirkwood being quickest on the final day. So those are your top three fastest drivers over the course of the 3 days at the Sebring test. Some good news for fans of Scott Dixon. He's been elected to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Hall of Fame alongside Gianpaolo Dallara, the founder of Dallara. Both of those were recently named as the nominees and inductees, I should say, to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Hall of Fame, and they will be inducted here in the coming months. So good for them. Meanwhile, interesting to note, we've talked about what's going to happen for Dale Coyne's second entry. We still don't know anything about that, but we know about the driver who previously occupied that machine. Jacob Abel says that while he's focusing on his full-time effort in the LMP2 class in IMSA, he has not given up on an IndyCar return. Now, it is rumored that his father's team, Abel Motorsports, could field an Indianapolis 500 entry for him, but that, again, all depends on what happens with Prema. So again, a lot of things are weighing on what's going to happen here with Prema as soon as we figure out if they're going to even be on the grid at all. It's unlikely that they'll be on the grid for St. Petersburg, but it's still up in the air whether or not they'll return in Phoenix and in subsequent races. So something to keep a note there as well. Now let's go ahead and transition into the world of electric formula before we take our first break of the show. In the world of Formula E, it was announced this week that the United Kingdom round could be changing next year, as the current XL London circuit is apparently too slow and too narrow for the Gen 4 cars that are going to debut next season in Formula E. Now, according to CEO Jeff Dodds, he says that it's not impossible that they would just find a different location within London to go race, but also, he didn't rule out the possibility of the series racing at Brands Hatch or Silverstone. Now, it's interesting to note that the series actually had its first ever test back when the series, literally before they even held their first ever race, they held an exhibition race at Brands Hatch with the original Gen 1 chassis of Formula E. So it would be kind of cool to see that series kind of return to its roots, but again, that's all rumored, and we don't exactly know exactly where Formula E is going to have their UK round next year. All right, hey, but that is it for the open wheel segment of the news in this show. Be sure to stay tuned, because coming up after the break, we're going to break down everything in the world of supercars, because there's some big changes on the broadcast side, and we're going to get you ready in the NASCAR world for the Daytona 500 this week. So all that and more coming up right after these messages on the Racing Report. And welcome back to the Racing Report. My name is Rob Peeters. Thanks so much for sticking with us through that break. Let's waste no time and get right into the world of supercars. Now, supercars, the first race of the 2026 season in Sydney is just 2 weeks away, and the series has officially announced who is going to be leading the broadcast lineup for this year. And unfortunately, as we've been reporting the last couple of weeks, Neil Crompton and Mark Scaife will no longer be a part of the broadcast team in Supercars. But instead, beginning this season, Chad Nalon, Richard Crail, and Matt Nolte will share play-by-play duties in the commentary booth, while Garth Tander will serve as the full-time analyst with a, quote, rotating cast of dedicated callers. Now, Nalon, Crail, and Nolte will each call one sprint race during those events. So basically what you're going to see is you're going to see those guys rotate during a sprint race. So they, let's say coming up this in a couple of weeks when they go to Sydney, one person will call the first race, another person will call the second race, and another person will call the third race. Garth Tander, however, will be the main primary analyst during those broadcasts. Now, during the endurance races, they'll actually rotate play-by-play duties, kind of like people in North America don't watch cricket, but if you are familiar with Test cricket, they tend to rotate commentators every now and again so that nobody's calling the full Test match, which, again, if you're unfamiliar with, can typically last from 9 to 5 for 5 straight days. You don't watch cricket, probably, but hey, if you do, you know what I'm talking about. But in that sense, so they're going to rotate those commentators during the enduros, so like at Bathurst and things like that. But in longer races, not necessarily the enduros, so more likely just the doubleheader weekends, that we're accustomed to as well in supercars. Either James Courtney or Mark Winterbottom will join the commentary booth, so you'll have at least a third driver in there, a third analyst, I should say, in the commentary booth going forward. And the broadcast will also see an upgraded graphics package to go along with all of these changes. So, again, unfortunate if you're a fan of Crompo and Scaife. I know I was, but I'm willing to give these new guys a try, especially to hear what Garth Tander has to say now that he has retired from full-time supercars, or even part-time supercars racing, and gone into the commentary booth. But speaking of something that got a new graphics package, if you've been watching Daytona 500 qualifying this week, NASCAR on Fox has a brand new graphics package. And let's talk about the NASCAR news, because there's quite a bit to go along with it today as we get ready for this weekend's Daytona 500. But first thing to note is if you watched qualifying at all this week, on Wednesday, NASCAR changed the rules. rules and said that drivers are no longer allowed to stick their hand outside the window in order to block the air from getting inside the car during qualifying at super speedways, primarily Daytona, Talladega, and Atlanta. That is now banned. That rule has taken effect now, so you won't see drivers doing that anymore, which again was controversial not long ago when NASCAR confiscated a webbed glove from Joey Logano and said he was using it to gain an unfair advantage during qualifying for the Daytona 500 a year or two ago. So some interesting news there coming out from NASCAR, but also interesting news coming out from NASCAR is apparently that Homestead Miami, who we know is going to host this year's championship race, it will also apparently be hosting next year's championship race as well. That's according to Mike Ford on the Hauler Talk podcast. Now, something additional that we learned this week is that Ben Kennedy says NASCAR is, quote, seeing an interest from a host of cities who are trying to land the championship race. So I'll be curious to see what those cities are and what track hosts the championship race, beginning at least in 2028. Additionally, Ben Kennedy dropped another piece of important news, at least on us, is that NASCAR is reportedly planning a renovation to Talladega Superspeedway, but they did not elaborate on exactly what's being renovated. Some people have rumored that maybe it could be a new fan zone, maybe it could be the infield, who knows? We don't know. It's just that they're planning a renovation of Talladega, and we don't exactly know what that entails. Speaking of, but let's talk about the Daytona 500. Let's talk about the Daytona 500 real quick. The 500 is officially sold out, so if you are looking to go this weekend, I hope you are planning to go to a scalper or go to a third-party website, because you won't be able to go to the box office or the Daytona 500's official website in order to get tickets. And also, it's going to have the largest purse in the history of the event, clocking it at a whopping $31,045,575 for a total purse at the Daytona 500. That's the highest in the race's history. Now let's talk about some of the driver news in the world of NASCAR. Hendrick Motorsports says it has officially signed Kyle Larson to a 5-year contract extension, keeping the two-time Cup Series champion with the team through the 2031 season. Also, some good news here for fans of Brad Keselowski, as he's officially been cleared to race the Daytona 500 after breaking his femur during an accident on December 18th when he was on a skiing trip. I believe I erroneously said in a previous racing report that he broke that on a skiing trip. During skiing, that was not the case. He was on a skiing trip, but he didn't suffer the injury while he was skiing. It was a completely unrelated injury. Now, in other news, Corey Heim is set to run 12 Cup Series races this season. That's right, the defending Truck Series champion, who doesn't have a full-time ride in trucks or the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, but at least he does have 12 Cup starts planned for 2311 racing, and that'll begin during this weekend's Daytona 500, as long as he makes the race. Again, I'm recording this before the duels, so we'll find out. But he's also set to race at the Spring Kansas race, the Texas race, both races at Charlotte Motor Speedway, so the Coca-Cola 600 and the fall race, which, by the way, is no longer on the Roval. He'll also make a start at Nashville, San Diego, Chicagoland, Indianapolis, the fall Daytona race, the Southern 500, and the season finale in Homestead. Also, we finally know where Nick Sanchez is going to race in 2026. AM Racing, who we talked about last week, was not fully purchased by Sigma Performance Racing. They're back, so they have signed Nick Sanchez to drive their number 25 Ford Mustang full-time in the NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, and additionally, he will be joined on a part-time basis as a teammate by Daniel Dye in their number 52 Ford for AM Racing. So Daniel Dye going to race part-time in that car, while Nick Sanchez getting the full-time nod in the 25 car. We also know who won the race for the seat in Dodge Ram's cool little reality show. Timothy Tyrrell, otherwise known as Mini Tyrrell, won that reality competition, and he will now drive full-time in the number 14 Ram truck for Colleague Racing in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, with his first start being this weekend at Daytona. That'll be something to watch. Speaking of the Truck Series, as we begin to wrap up the NASCAR news, Kyle Busch will make 8 truck starts in 2026 for Spire Motorsports in the number 7 car, with sponsorship from HendrickCars.com, and his first race will be actually in a couple of weeks' time at Atlanta. So if you're a Kyle Busch fan, great. If you're not so much a Kyle Busch fan, I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news there. But in spite of that, we got to go ahead and take our second break of the show, but when we come back, we're going to get you set up for the Daytona 500 and everything that's going on this weekend in Speed Week, and we're also going to get you set up for the races that are not at Daytona this weekend, as well as some of the other races that are coming up in a couple of weeks' time. So, do not go anywhere. We will be right back with more Racing Report right after these messages. Don't go anywhere. And welcome back to the Racing Report. My name is Rob Peeters. Thanks so much for sticking with us through that break. Let's go ahead and finish up the show by talking about the Daytona 500 that's coming up this weekend. And we got a lot of other races coming up as well. Obviously, by the time you're watching this, I assume the dual races will have already been concluded, so I can't really tell you much about who made the field, who's starting on the front row. I don't know. It hasn't happened yet at the time of recording this, but that's okay, because let's just talk about the races that are this weekend. Obviously, the Truck Series race is going to kick off the races at Daytona after the dual races. That's going to be the first points-paying race of the weekend, I should say. And that's going to happen Friday at 7:30, and that'll be on FS1, as it always has been, at least since 2003 when it was Speed. So be looking for that. That's going to be the start of the Truck Series race. Of course, a big stacked lineup in that race. Tony Stewart will be racing for Colleague Racing in the Ram truck. Then you'll have Cletus McFarlane and Travis Pastrana as teammates for Nice Motorsports. Just a lot to look forward to there in the Truck Series. But then after that, you don't have to go very long, because the ARCA race kicks off at 12 o'clock. And speaking of the ARCA race, if you haven't yet, I highly recommend checking out our interview with Cambridge City's Presley Soares. He's going to be trying to qualify for that race in Daytona for Fast Track Racing. We're wishing him the best. Hopefully he does make that. But in the event that he doesn't, knock on wood, be sure to check out that interview, because it's really cool, and it's on WTHR Plus. It's also on YouTube. He's also shared it on his own social media accounts. Be sure to check that out if you have a chance. Looking forward to seeing what he'll do. He's actually one of, I believe, only 2 Indiana drivers in the race. I believe Greg Van Alst is the only other Indiana driver. Brayton Laster announced that he didn't have a deal in place to race Daytona this year, but does have some interesting and fun announcements to make regarding his planned ARCA starts in the future. So Greenwood's own Brayton Laster will not be at Daytona this weekend, but Presley Soares and Greg Van Alst will be, so we're wishing them luck as our local Hoosier drivers. After that ARCA race at noon on Saturday, the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series will kick off their 2026 campaign with their Daytona race. That'll be at 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time on the CW, with the Daytona 500 again taking place on Sunday at 2:30 p.m. That race will be on Big Fox. But as we talk about all the NASCAR races that are this weekend, obviously we've also got the World Series of Asphalt going on at New Smyrna Speedway. But again, so much more going on. Formula E's got a doubleheader out in Jeddah, and if you are in North America, which I assume most of you are, it's going to be pretty easy to watch those races. They'll be free on the Roku channel, and Lights Out is scheduled for 12:05 p.m., so just after noon. So let's say, you're watching the ARCA race, you want to put 2 screens on, there you go. You'll have 2 races going on. Let's say you're waiting for the Daytona 500 to start on Sunday. Don't worry, never fear. At noon, there will be a Formula E race for you to watch if you don't maybe want to watch all that pre-race stuff for the Daytona 500. So, a couple of Formula E races this weekend, but that's not all, because like I mentioned, the Bathurst 12-hour is also this weekend, and that'll be on Saturday, February 14th. Now, if you're on the East Coast, that race is going to begin at 1:45 p.m. Eastern Time, but you'll notice something very interesting if you're tuning into that race. The race starts literally at the crack of dawn. These cars are going up and down the mountain before the sun comes up. They race as the sun is coming up, and they race for the next subsequent 12 hours, usually ending just before sundown. It's an incredible race, and it'll be streamed completely for free on the Bathurst 12-hour YouTube channel. So if you're in North America like I am, and you want to watch this, it's entirely free. You could do so. Just search on YouTube, and it'll be right there, and I highly recommend it. It's another great race, but again, I understand if you're maybe more interested in the ARCA race or the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series race, but definitely, if you have some time, check out the Bathurst 12-hour, because it's always a fantastic race, and it's just Bathurst. It's Bathurst at night. When else do you see Bathurst without lights, without the sun up? It's a cool thing. And then finally, speaking of down under, the Australian Supercars starts their 2026 season in 2 weeks' time. So on February 20th, 21st, and 22nd, they will be racing the Sydney 500 to kick off their season. Lots of things to look forward to this week in motorsports. So again, with all that being said, I want to thank every single person who's tuned in so far this year for the Racing Report. Thank you again so much. We're going to go ahead and wrap up the show because that's it. We didn't have any races this past weekend. I mean, we did, but nothing that we really talk about. There was an ELMS race, and there were obviously World Series of Asphalt down there at New Smyrna. Actually, Jade Avedizian won her first race down there at New Smyrna this weekend. That was really cool in a late model. But other than that, not really much to talk about. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up the show. And remember, if you like this show, please follow me on social media and let me know. You could do so by looking up at rpeeters33. That's RPEETERS 33. And then always make sure you've got that handy dandy little WTHR Plus app installed on your smart TV so you don't miss a single episode of the Racing Report each and every week. Again, the latest news and notes in the world of motorsports, race recaps, all that stuff, we got you covered. We are your ultimate pre-race destination when it comes to racing news and information. So, for WTHR Plus, thank you again so much for watching. I hope you enjoy the Daytona 500. I hope you enjoy the Bathurst 12-hour. I hope you enjoy the Formula E Jeddah E-Prix, and in general, I hope to see you again back in a week's time. So again, for WTHR Plus, my name is Rob Peeters, and this has been the Racing Report.